Hello, happy, healthy people. Welcome. My name is Layla, and I'm so glad you clicked on this video. Today, I'm here to talk about birth control. Now, before we get into this super juicy, exciting topic, I want to be able to cleanse our space and just offer you who's watching a chance to release, a chance to note what's in your system that is no longer serving you, and then let it go. Thank it, and then release it. Let's take 3 deep breaths as we cleanse our space. And let it all out. Now I'm so grateful that you're here because today I want to talk about a topic that is, I think, a little taboo in our society, but so vital and important that we discuss honestly and openly. So like I said, today I want to talk about birth control. What's up with birth control? Let's get really real. Now I'm going to talk about my experiences and experiences that people in my life have had. Now, what's really important to me is that you share your experience. So right now, if you're watching this video, go ahead and comment below. Have you ever been on birth control? If so, what kind? If you have, what experiences have you had while on it? How long have you been on it? Have you ever considered coming off of it? If you did come off it, what was it like as you transitioned? If you've never been on birth control, why not? So please let me know your unique experience with birth control. I know that for me, it's been a very, individual path. And I think that for a lot of women, it is. Maybe we all are kind of told the same story to get on birth control when you're 16 and then get off of it when you want to get pregnant. But I really want to open up that conversation and break the taboo about talking about this birth control. So this is obviously, and I hope that's clear, but I just want to emphasize, this is a no judgment space. So I'm going to talk about birth control here. If you're on birth control, this isn't about you. This isn't about judging or shaming in any way. That's gross. I don't do that. So there's no judgment here. There's really just openness. And I hope that as I share vulnerably, you will also let me know your experiences so that we can share together. Now, I'm going to talk today specifically about hormonal birth control. I know that there's a lot of different options for hormonal birth control. I also know that there's one option that I know of, which is the copper IUD, which is not hormonal, right? Because it's just that copper IUD up in your cervix. And so I'm really not sure about that copper IUD. I don't want to speak on it. So if you're watching this video and you have the copper IUD, comment below. Tell me more. Now, like I said, a really common type of birth control is hormonal birth control. So this is going to be anything that alters your natural hormonal state. So the most common form is the pill that people take. They'll take it every day at the same time, and then there would be a row of sugar pills that you would take during what's supposed to be your bleed week. We'll talk about that later. And then there's also the shot. You can get the Depot shot. You get that every 3 months, maybe every 3 weeks. I'm not sure. Never had it. I personally had the implant. So I had, these are my notes that I'm looking at. I had an implant actually it was my left side. I had an implant in my arm that was releasing hormones. I had that for, I think, 2 years. And then there's also an IUD that is a hormonal IUD, as opposed to the copper IUD. So there's some forms of birth control that exist. Now, like I said, the pill is the most common, and the most common type of the pill, it runs on progestin. So if you watched my earlier video, which is on my channel, so go follow me and you can check it out. I talk about the hormonal cycles of a woman, and our body is naturally making progesterone. Now, a lot of these hormonal birth controls are adding a synthetic hormone called progestin. So progestin is obviously acting like progesterone in our bodies, which means it's essentially tricking our body into thinking that we're pregnant all the time. So this is going to thicken the cervical mucus, which isn't going to allow sperm in. And oftentimes it might even signal to the ovaries not to release an egg. So releasing the egg, and then as the egg is not fertilized and dies and then falls down through the uterus, and that is the lining and the blood that we shed, what happens with the pill is you might still have a bleed, right? Like, I mean, you know, hands up, like I think a lot of women are on the pill and still have a bleed. And they might think, I get my period still. But what that really is it's a withdrawal bleed. So it's as you take away that progestin, that fake hormone that makes the body think we're pregnant, all of a sudden the blood comes rushing in because we're shedding, because the uterus for those 3 weeks was building up a lining because it thought there was going to be a potential baby. So that bleed that's happening is a withdrawal bleed, which means it's not really a true ovulatory cycle. Like, you're probably not actually having a fertile ovulation if you're on the pill. I don't know if people know this because I think I've heard a lot of women say, oh, I'm on the pill, I'm still bleeding, I still get my period, it's all good. That's not necessarily true. While I had the implant, my period went away entirely for a while. It then started spotting a little bit, but all of this is not a true full natural bleed. So if you're on birth control, please let me know, like, do you get a bleed and what does that look like for you? It's probably a withdrawal bleed if you're on the pill. Now, a lot of women do stop bleeding completely, all right? This is the body trying to show us we're pregnant. We don't need to have a period, right? A lot of women also just experience light spotting. That's also normal. It's the body not fully having enough of a fertile ovulation and then a dying egg to fully release a full bleed. Now, the effects of birth control are many. I just talked about how it affects our actual cycle, but if you look on the back of birth control, the side effects are enormous. Nausea, headache, back pain, skin problems, acne, breast tenderness, back soreness, moodiness, irritability, indigestion, loose bowel movements. All of these are all side effects of birth control. Now, the one thing I want to say about that is obviously birth control is a product primarily used by women, right? Exclusively, let's be real, exclusively used by women in our society. And so women have been in a way socialized to sort of suck it up, right? Like, take the pain and sweep it under the rug and don't make a big deal about it. So what happens there is that a lot of the side effects truly, to their full extent, don't get reported and don't get filed. So we're not actually really aware of all of the side effects and how severe they truly are of birth control. So keep that in mind, okay? Now, with birth control, it's pretty much prescribed to women nowadays for everything. Like, whereas when it first started, a few decades ago, birth control this is an option if you're looking for a contraceptive, if you're sexually active. Now, a lot of women who aren't even sexually active will be on birth control. A lot of young girls who aren't sexually active will get on birth control. A lot of women start birth control at very young ages. It's common to start maybe around 16, a few years after you begin menstruating. Menstruation is also happening earlier now. I'll make a different video about that. But what's dangerous about this, and why I bring this up, because it's so normal in our society. You're in high school, you're sophomore in high school, and you're on birth control. Cool, great. Hope your boyfriend's nice. And it's like, wow, that's a really big health commitment to be making at such a young age. Because, for the first at least like 3, 4, 5 years that we begin menstruating, our body is still learning how to menstruate. So, for me, for the first year of my cycle, it was very irregular. Sometimes it would be 45 days. It was very long, wouldn't always come. Sometimes it was really dark brown. Sometimes it was really spotty and light. So that's because our body is still figuring out how to connect our brain to our uterus. Like, this is a connection that is building, right? We didn't have that before up until, I got my period at maybe 12. At 12, I started menstruating. So for those first 12 years of my life, my body didn't have that connection, right? I just had my ovaries down here and they weren't really doing anything. And all of a sudden, as I go through menarche, my brain is now having to send all these hormones back and forth, get all these messages. It's a new axis. And so just like any neuro connection in our brain, this is a brain-body connection, and we need to build that pathway. So starting birth control at a very early age takes away from that learning, because it starts adding that synthetic hormone and taking away the body's opportunity to naturally connect to what hormones are in our system naturally. So, the other thing I was saying was that the doctors in allopathic medicine often will recommend birth control for girls who have an irregular period. Right? So you'll come in, my period's a little regular and I have kind of bad cramps. Oftentimes you'll be prescribed birth control. Now, the problem with that is that you're taking away the body's ability to connect, the body's ability to heal itself. And instead you're adding this synthetic hormone that doesn't at all get to the root of the problem. If you watched my radical self-care video, follow my channel for that. But I talk about why it's important to go to the root of something, to not just treat it at a superficial, shallow level. So that's what a lot of doctors are doing. Oh, you have really bad acne, birth control. Okay, that's a synthetic hormone, but how could I regulate my natural hormones, right? And, the reason that I think it's so normal and just considered really normal is because it's so common. So it's so common for women to have really painful cramps or irregular periods or bad skin, and it's so common that we would see that as something, wrong with us, and we would need to go take a pill for it. The truth of the matter is that our menstrual cycle is a reflection of our overall health. And so going into our menstrual cycle and seeing it as, wow, it's a way of my body communicating with me. I'm having cramps, there's something out of balance. Anytime there's any pain or discomfort in the body, something is out of balance. And we have the ability to bring our bodies back into balance, and we don't need synthetic hormones to do so. So if this resonates with you, then please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'm going to make another video coming soon where I want to talk about how we can begin to take our health into our own hands, to become sovereign and really truly understand what's going on in our bodies and how we can support ourselves. Because I think that a lot of women feel fear about their body because it's sort of the unknown, something that's not really talked about. And there's this whole lack of understanding which leads to fear, right? We fear what we don't know. But there is no need to fear your body. She is magical. She is infinitely wise. And she will show you exactly what you need. And all you need to do is learn how to listen. So thank you so much for choosing health. Full body, full life, full womb.